ones who can rid their homes and neighborhoods of such menaces, one household at a time. Amen. Now we have social workers, we've got, coalitions, we've got we've got law enforcement people. It has taken two mothers to come up with this final deal that says the way that we're going to rid neighborhoods of gangs and drug addiction is to do it one household at a time. And guess whose household it starts with? Yours. And this is great. See, calling the police doesn't address the real problem of young people doing pretty much what they will. I can go on with this story, but if you want to read it, it's on 6B in the Denver Post. Okay. So tonight what we're talking about is Youth Train. It's a parents' movement about parents taking responsibility for their kids, taking responsibility for their home. You've heard that saying, do you know where your kids are tonight? But I want to welcome both of you ladies here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To the program. You're very, very welcome. Well, tell us how did you come up with, what is Youth Train, and how did you come up with this idea? I'll start with you, June.
Well, like you said, Youth Train is a parents' movement, and we came up with this idea partially with Nancy's frustration and my frustration with needing help and not being able to find it anywhere. Nancy can explain herself what her frustrations are, and mine were in the school system and the educational process that my child was receiving in the school system, and felt that there was nowhere to turn, and it was time that some changes were made.
Well, what kind of frustrations were you feeling? What was happening? And you're saying here, and correct me if I'm wrong, your feeling is that you take a neighborhood back one household at a time, right?
That's right.
I mean, what kind of frustrations were you feeling? What was happening that was making you frustrated?
Well, not just in the school system, but with the school system, my frustration was with the type of supervision the children were having and the youth were having in the school system. Things were not monitored. I was frustrated with the fact that my daughter was designated, the school specified that they had to wear particular colors, and because of gang problems in the school, and I felt that my daughter had the right to wear any color that she wanted to wear to school and be safe with that color.
What do you mean? Would you describe that? You lost me here. Maybe you could explain to the listeners, like what colors couldn't she wear as an example?
The colors of gang colors, and I'm not totally familiar with them except for the red and the blue, and there are other colors too, and they were not allowed to come to school to wear those. My frustration was with the fact that her educational process, her academic process, was not what I felt she deserved in the school system, yet we're real focused on the colors of gangs. And I felt that it was time somebody did something when I'm not contacted when my daughter is doing poorly in a class, when teachers tell me there's 122 students that she has to deal with and she doesn't have time to contact me, yet they have time to focus on the negative aspects. Then I felt it was time to do something about it, and there was nowhere to turn to.
How about you, Nancy? What got you going on this? Why have you, the frustrations, what were the frustrations that you felt, and how did you happen to come to help start Youth Train, parents movement?
Okay, first I would like to explain a few primary purposes of youth training, and that will better explain my frustrations. We are formed, number one, to accept responsibility for what our youth are doing and for the negative activities that they're involved in currently. We also are formed to implement positive alternatives to the negative activities our children are involved in, to regain control of, number one, our homes, and number two, our communities, and to get youth back on the right track.
What do you mean, but what do you mean by negative activities? What are you talking about exactly?
Well, that's where I can go into my own personal story, I suppose, in the formation of Youth Train. I have a 17-year-old daughter who I lost control of. I lost control of my home, and I was very stressed out, very frustrated because I did not have anywhere to turn. I made a few calls for help. Then I started talking to other parents.
Who did you call?
Oh, I called a youth organization, a local youth organization.
You can say, I mean, you can name, if you want to name names in this program, you can say whatever you want to. We're here to tell the truth, you know what I mean? On the other hand, you know, if you don't want to, that's fine too.
I understand, thank you. I called a counselor. My daughter received counseling 2 or 3 different times from 2 or 3 different sources. And so I just tried. Church, you know, different places. And
well, you said you lost control of your daughter. I just want to back up. What do you mean you lost control? What happened?
My daughter...
I'm sorry, and I want to interrupt you one more time. Which part of town are we talking about? What's the geographic area so that, you know, we know and the listeners know? I mean, which part of Denver are we talking about here?
June and I both live in Northeast Denver. However, the program is not isolated to one community.
Could work in Aurora?
Anywhere.
Okay.
We're open to all communities because the same problems exist throughout.
Okay, but meanwhile, Youth Train is getting going in your part of town.
Because we live in.
Because you live in. Okay. Are you neighbors? Do you live approximately in the same part of town?
We are close, but we're not neighbors now.
Okay. Well, within a couple of blocks of one another, kind of thing, or?
No. We live actually about 12, 13 blocks away.
Oh, okay.
Same neighborhood.
Same neighborhood.
Yes.
Okay, so you were saying you lost control of your daughter, and I'm kind of curious, what happened? What's the situation?
My daughter had...
And if there's anything that you feel uncomfortable talking about, just tell me. Okay, so no, I don't want to talk about that. Okay?
Sure.
Okay.
My daughter had a baby when she was 16 years old. And because she had the baby, after she had the baby, she became emotionally unstable, actually, is what it was. She could not handle it. She was too young, and the responsibility and the reality hit her, and she was not able to handle it well. Consequently, she started going out a lot, something that she had not done prior to getting pregnant and having the baby. And she became involved with all kinds of kids from all different neighborhoods, and she dropped out of high school. And then she eventually became involved with some gang members, running around with them and hanging out in the streets with them. I can't say that she was or was not a gang member herself, but she associated with them.
Yeah, I mean, if you're hanging around with gangs, chances are pretty good you're...
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily?
No, not at all. Many of them are not.
Okay, see, I didn't know that.
A lot of these kids go to school together. They've known each other from the time they were in elementary school.
So she had a baby.
They grow up together.
So she had a baby, and then she started going out in the streets.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what happened.
Okay. Who took care of the baby?
I did.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then she started bringing kids home with her. And while I was trying to be there for her, to give her all of the support that she needed, I lost control in the process. And before I knew it, these teenagers were coming in to my home every day, spending the night, using the telephone, going in the refrigerator, making themselves at home right over me. And they weren't disrespectful to me. They were all polite, hello, Miss Johnson, but that was it. And then it was Angie's home and not mine. And that's when I suppose my frustration level got to the point where I had to do something.
But that happens with a lot of kids, you know, where you have a kind of an open home, you know, if kids know that there's a safe place to go, they go to so-and-so's house because, well, their parents are nice, so people kind of congregate there. I mean, so what's wrong with that?
You have to monitor it as a parent, and that's something that I did not do.
You didn't do?
I thought I did. I thought just by being there, to me that was enough, when in reality it wasn't. So these kids were not really monitored. They were not doing anything in my home that they weren't drinking, they weren't smoking, they were not involved in negative activities inside of my home, yet they were taking over. It was Angie's home.
But outside the home? These kids have gang colors, I mean, when they came in? Were they
some of them.
Gang members?
Not all of them. Oh, okay. No.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, at the time that I say I lost control of my home.
Yeah.
Angie was not running with the gang members.
Let me give the talk number here. 457-9951 is the number here on Addiction Free Radio. If you're involved with Youth Train, or you have any questions for my guests this evening, June Jackson or Nancy Johnson, you're certainly welcome to call in. If you are a parent in the neighborhood, or if you share these concerns, you're welcome to participate in tonight's program of Addiction Free Radio. The number 457-9951. Is a reasonable quit smoking program that's guaranteed for a year. That's Positive Changes here in Denver. 366-2900. That's 366-2900.
Addiction Free Radio. You can talk with Jann in just a moment at area code 303-457-9952. If you're calling long distance, let the phone ring. We'll answer just as soon as we can put you on the air. Addiction Free Radio is the only regularly scheduled talk show on the globe that we know of, broadcasting information for those suffering from an addiction. Jann will be back to answer your questions in just a moment. We're now taking phone calls at area code 303-457-9952. Jann will be back in just 2 minutes.
There's something wrong with Steve. Steve, medicine. Come on, Steve, right now. Oh, Steve.
If your son or daughter has a problem with drugs or alcohol, don't wait for it to go away. It won't. At Charter, we understand, and we can help.
Call Charter Hospital of Denver at 989-5000. That's 989-5000. Free Radio. You're with Jan Scott this evening. My guests are June Jackson and Nancy Johnson. They're the founders of Youth Train, a parents' movement about parents taking responsibility for their kids. And I just left off with Nancy here, and you were telling us. So, anyways, what happened? You discovered that you lost control of your daughter, and I mean, what is it that made you? What finally happened?
I got angry. I lost weight. I lost my appetite. I was nervous. I couldn't sleep at night, and I got angry.
Are you a single parent?
Yes.
No? Okay.
Yeah. And I looked at myself in the mirror one day, and I didn't like what I saw. I was tired, and I didn't want to be tired, and I didn't want to look tired, so I got angry. Some parents get concerned. Some parents go through other emotions. Mine was anger, and I just took control. I talked to other parents, many of them, friends of mine, my own sister, other parents, co-workers, and many parents have the exact same problem that I had with my daughter. And so I decided to take control of my home, and it felt good. And that's when we formed Youth Train.
Okay, and you two kind of linked up and found one another in the process, is that right?
That's basically correct, yeah. We've known each other, but we basically got together and found each other in the process and felt that there was a need. Nancy approached me and felt a need for the program in this community and a need for parents to become involved, not just in East Denver, but throughout the entire metropolitan Denver area, because those problems are everywhere, not just in East Denver.
Let's go to the phones. We've got Billy from Montbello. Hi, you're on Addiction Free Radio.
Hi. I would like to ask June or Nancy if they have a peer program, and I would also like to ask them, are they including the kids, say for instance like a C average student or a B average student, just positive kids, in their program, and parents that are working with positive kids in their homes?
We definitely have a peer program, and we also have a program for the average student. As a matter of fact, my daughter is an average student, and when you're an average student and you're not a behavior problem, or you're an extremely exceptional student, then, and you're quiet and not a behavior problem, you usually get lost in the system, in the public school systems. We have a peer pal program that we're coming up with, and we're going to be involved with, and that is matching the type of students that you asked about with students that are involved in negative activities, and showing students that have positive activities and positive experiences going on in their home, pairing them up with children who are having the negative problems in their home.
Would you give us some examples of negative activities?
Oh, drug abuse.
Yeah.
Adolescent sex and pregnancy, gang violence, or any kind of violence. And those are some prime examples and some prominent examples that are occurring every day in this community.
I also would like to know if you all will have, excuse me, do you have counseling, say for instance like for parents that have gave up hope or feel like that they can't go any further, or parents, single parents for instance?
Well, our message to any parent is that you cannot give up hope, ever. One of our philosophies is that our children did not ask to come here, and they're here. And it's our responsibility to take care of them, to teach them what is the difference between right and wrong, and to teach them respect and how to respect their surrounding community and their neighbors. And so our message would be to parents not to give up, and also to join us, because we don't have all the answers, and we want them in there to help us to find some of the answers.
Okay, I have one more question, and then I'll hang up and let someone else.
Now, I have a question for you. Hey, Billy, are you? Let me ask you something. Are you a parent?
Yes, I am.
You identify with what these women are talking about?
I can identify with the kids on the positive side. It seems that they have problems as far as getting jobs, as far as programs for children on the positive side of the fence, and this is why I asked if they were going to work with children that are making an effort in life as well as the other kids. And to me, the peer counseling seems to be the way to go, because it seems to me that we have an invisible sector of children in our society today that we have basically forgotten them.
See, it looks to me like the Youth Train is more of a parents' movement. This is parents taking control of their household, like that, rather than, say, peer counseling for teenagers. Or are you talking about peer counseling for parents? Is that what you're talking about?
I think that would really be neat to have the peer counseling for parents.
Well, that's an interesting point.
As well as for the youth,
Because a lot of parents don't know how to be parents. They only know what they're taught. In fact, you know what I mean?
That is true. A lot of parents don't know how to be parents, and I think that this is one of the problems that we're having today. A lot of parents feel that they don't have time to be a parent, because they're out working, they're trying to make ends meet, they're trying to pay house notes. So they don't have time.
I often hear people saying, and we've gotten this question a lot since we've started our program, and they say, what do you do about the single parent who works all day and comes home tired and can't help their child with their schoolwork and can't monitor their child with their schoolwork. And my opinion of that is that it's inexcusable. I was a single parent. Nancy was a single parent. There were problems in her home, but basically, like she said, she took control. I will reiterate it over and over again. There is no excuse for any parent, single or otherwise, to not spend some amount of time with their child, regardless of what the reasoning is.
Okay, I would like to ask this question too. It seems, maybe I'm wrong, that is this program generated for the whole of Denver, the whole of Colorado, or is it just generated for the East area or the East Denver area?
Well, we had said that earlier. This is for the metropolitan Denver area.
Okay.
We happen to live in the East Denver area, and I think that the focus is there because the media and the press is pretty focused on the East Denver area right now, and so I think that's where the focus is at.
Do you want to get involved, Billy?
Yes, I will get involved.
Oh, I tell you what. If you we'll put you on hold here, okay? I'll have the engineer put you on hold when we're finished with you. Why don't you leave your phone number, and then maybe one of these fine ladies can get back to you, and then you can get working with them. How's that sound?
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Thanks for your call, Billy. All right. You're with Jan Scott here on Addiction Free Radio. Youth Train is a support system for parents concerned about their kids dealing with all types of negative activity, including gangs, drugs, sex, teen pregnancies, and increasing high school dropout rate. That's what Youth Train is about. With me here in the studio tonight, June Jackson and Nancy Johnson, who are the founders of Youth Train, a parents' movement. Addiction Free Radio tonight, we're talking about teen and parent issues, and this one, as far as I'm concerned, is the biggest one of all. You know, you mentioned your daughter, you know, has a child, and there are so many kids today having kids. So we have babies having babies, or if you have, I mean, we haven't even talked about parents who are drug addicts and alcoholics having kids, and then the kids being abused, growing up, becoming teenagers, having, you know, more kids. I mean, it's like 457-9951 is the number here on Addiction Free Radio. If you would like to get involved in tonight's program or share, we've got two lines open. The talk number is 457-9951. If this is something that you are experiencing or have experienced, if you live in a neighborhood, maybe, you know, well, the last call is from Montbella, maybe you're in East Denver or Northeast Denver, Aurora, wherever, and you would like to, well, whatever, have some questions for my guests, you're welcome to participate. The other thing I wanted to ask you was, the yellow lights. I mean, what we're really talking about here is, and I think people need to know this, I guess they know it, but this is really a serious matter, isn't it? We're not talking about the burbs, you know, where things are kind of cool. We're talking about a situation where so-and-so's kid, you know, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old, could be high on crack in the middle of the night, out messing around in your car trying to steal the stereo out. I mean, we're talking about some very serious stuff, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I would like to back up for just a moment and say something about support to parents.
Yeah.
One of our major focuses in Youth Train is a parent support group. We want parents to understand that they're not alone out there, that there are other parents that can relate to their stories. We have different stories to tell, but the same circumstances. And it's important for parents to know, because we want them to become involved with Youth Train, that they're not alone. So we do have a parent support group, and we also are going to provide assertiveness training to parents and have workshops professionally done.
Are you two trained counselors?
June is a trained counselor, and we will bring other professionals in.
You will. Do you have funding?
Absolutely.
In that? I mean, what about, does anybody give you a bunch of money and say, okay, here you go, ladies?
Not at this point, no, but we're hoping for that.
And we're a non-profit organization. And
how long have you been operating, going?
Well, actually, we started
in May.
In
Since May.
So this is a grassroots neighborhood deal.
Grassroots.
Exactly.
I like this. I have to tell you, this is one of the best things I've heard yet. It just, I mean, it's so simple, but it takes somebody to come forward and say, you know, the way that we reclaim our neighborhoods. Because I've been very, very concerned that we have a lot of people in this community that don't realize that we are in the process of losing Denver to gangs and crack and violence, and you start to become numb by it, you know?
That's right.
All the phone lines are lit up here, so
Good.
well, before we talk to Tony here in Lakewood. Tony, hang on. I'm going to talk to you in a minute, and Bob in East Denver, don't go away. What's the light bulb deal? What's with the yellow light bulbs?
We have a very important campaign. It's called Respect Me. We're asking everyone throughout metropolitan Denver to burn a yellow light bulb on their front porch on the 4th of July as a visual statement saying this home teaches respect. This home demands respect. We do not condone gang violence or any other harmful activity. Respect me, respect my community. And it's a very, very important movement and campaign to us because we want to light the city up. We want everyone to see that we care, that parents are taking action.
Now, you have some kind of an emergency situation here with the yellow light. So, tell us about that. The porch light signifies program support. But what is it? What's the when there's negative activity in the neighborhood? What do you do? Because you have a system here.
That's right. And one, we would like our parents to turn on their porch light. We have a project that Nancy will go into more detail about. But 1, turn on their porch light. 2, call the police. 3, call every neighbor in the area and let them know that there is some type of negative activity going on.
Give me an example. For instance, like pretend.
Vandalism with a car. Someone's tearing your car apart.
So here I am. I'm sitting in my house, okay?
You're sitting in your house, you hear a glass break, or you hear screaming on the street. 1, get up, turn on your yellow light bulb. 2, call the police.
No. Go ahead.
3, call your neighbors, and that's our helpline project. And
now, what if I have somebody coming over for dinner and I turn the front porch light on and it's yellow, and then the neighbors across the street look and they say, "Oh, well, Jan's got his yellow light on," and then they call. I mean, okay, go ahead. What?
That's not how it will work. It's a system.
Okay.
That's right.
There's a method to it, and everyone involved will have been trained.
But you know what I mean? A lot of times people leave the front porch light on for their husbands who are coming home or whatever. I mean, I don't want to put the damper on this, but I'm trying to look at.
But that's okay if they leave the front porch light on. That makes it even safer in the future, not just on the 4th of July. But the yellow porch light is not just symbolic of one night of the 4th of July.
So this isn't a signal. Turn the yellow porch light on. It's not a signal that I'm having problems at my house.
The telephone call is the signal.
I get it.
You see, the project is called HELP, and it stands for Hotline Established Through the Love of Parents.
Okay.
We'll have a list of all volunteers who are involved in the program.
Okay, we're going to come back here in a minute. Okay, they want us to take a break.
Hey, this
we'll finish
is the
that
Boys
thought.
Choir of Harlem.
Every day, there's something on the street. Something you can smoke, something you can eat. Folks asking questions about what you want to take. They got suggestions about money you can make. Ain't no explanation, but you got to do it. Just say no. You don't need no aggravation. No, no. What you got to do is just say no. You don't need no confrontation. What you got to do is just say no.
This message brought to you by Communities for a Drug-Free Colorado.
Addiction-Free Radio. You can talk with Jann in just a moment at area code 303-457-9952. If you're calling long distance, let the phone ring. We'll answer just as soon as we can put you on the air. Addiction-Free Radio is the only regularly scheduled talk show on the globe that we know of, broadcasting information for those suffering from an addiction. Jann will be back to answer your questions in just a moment. We're now taking phone calls at area code 303-457-9952. Jann will be back in just 2 minutes.
Call Charter Hospital of Denver at 989-5000. 989-5000. Just so that you know what we're doing for the next 10 weeks until August 28th, Monday nights are Adolescent and Parent Issues Night. Tuesday, our open line night. We talk about any kind of addictions on that night. Wednesdays, codependency, family issues, and adult children of alcoholics issues. Thursdays are women's addictions issues. And Fridays are another open night. We'll probably have do interesting things on that night. We'll be doing remotes and having special guests on. So this is for the next 10 weeks here on Addiction Free Radio. All of these series are being sponsored by the Alcohol Drug Abuse Division of the state of Colorado. The Denver Junior League is helping to sponsor Women's Night, which is Thursday night, and the Women's Recovery Center of Boulder Memorial Hospital in Boulder is helping to sponsor that night. Monday nights is being sponsored by Charter Hospital of Denver. Wednesday nights, the Codependency and Family Issues Night, are being sponsored by the Care Unit from CompCare in Aurora, Colorado. Tuesday nights are being sponsored by Family Recovery Center in Greeley. So this is the next 10 weeks on Addiction Free Radio, special series nights. Stay tuned for big doings.
There's something wrong with Steve.
Steve, let us in. Come on, Steve, right now.
Oh, Steve.
If your son or daughter has a problem with drugs or alcohol, don't wait for it to go away. It won't. At Charter, we understand, and we can help.
Call Charter Hospital of Denver at 989-5000. That's 989-5000. Through positive changes in Denver, you can stop smoking forever without gaining weight. Positive Changes is over 90% successful in helping people to stop smoking in just one visit. That's Positive Changes. Their phone number, 366-2900, 366-2900. You're on Addiction Free Radio.
Hi, how are you?
Pretty okay.
I'd like to, well, first of all, say that this is probably my first time listening to KJIM, and I would like to congratulate you and your programming for Drug Free Radio. I really was called by a friend and got to tune in tonight, and I'm very glad I did. It sounded like the two guests that you have on tonight are very much in love with their children, and that came through when they were talking about their personal problems. And it seems also like they have a very trusting relationship to be able to talk about these situations, you know, and being able to overcome. Well, one of the things I wanted to ask, you touched on being a nonprofit corporation. Are you receiving kinds of help or something like that, or how do we get the word out to more than just the grassroots people for being able to give you the kinds of support that you need to get this program off the ground?
Sign up. You can sign up to become a fundraiser. I bet that's one way.
Yeah. And one of the other things is I wanted to encourage the people who may be listening that may think that the geographical location of this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that came up with these two very courageous ladies is not just related to any ethnic community, because we just have seen some evidence, I guess, that was on the channel one of the channels or TV channels this weekend that talked about the gang problems with the Skins as well as the Crips and the Bloods and any others that are cropping up in Northeast Denver and Aurora and other places.
Well, you're absolutely right. Crack and dealing and criminal activity knows no boundaries. It doesn't know any race. It doesn't know any religion. You know what I mean? I mean, I live in Boulder, and we have a developing skinhead and punker situation that's happening right in the downtown mall. And the family father, or rather the city fathers, sit back, and they're going to wait till they get their butts kicked, and then they're going to do something about it.
Well, let me ask
Go ahead.
June or Nancy, what exactly are you doing to approach some of the other organizations around Denver, for instance, the Junior Leagues or the Elks or the JCs, or how can we get the United Way maybe even to designate some of the contributions that we would make from business organizations directly to you? Is that possible?
Tony, I'd like to say we would love to have people like you involved with our program. We are still in our formative stages. We have a community meeting scheduled for this Thursday, as a matter of fact, from 6:30 to 8 o'clock. That's going to be at 6333 East Colfax Avenue in the Bank Western building. Actually, it's in the New Life Church, which is downstairs in the Bank Western building. And we are asking people to come out and join us at the meeting because we are still forming. We don't have all of the answers, and we want participation from everyone.
Yeah, you need workers, right?
We need workers.
You need people who are ready to do what needs
exactly.
to be done. Are you a parent, Tony, yourself?
Yes, I am. In fact, I'm a parent of 3 children.
You are. I mean, what made you call in tonight? Are you concerned about...
One of the things that, to tell you the truth, Jim, your enthusiasm was probably expressing the feeling that I had within. And
what is that?
Well, that was the fact that, hey, this is probably a parent, well, I'm not a parent movement, but a movement that would allow some of the people who probably can see straight through the frustrations that they've had, through the fact that they are not on drugs themselves, or even if they are, have the responsibility of the children to say, hallelujah, here's something that I can go through now as an option or an alternative to a confrontation with my child, to learn how to deal with some of the approaches to openness, to learn how to find out how other parents have, if not taken control, but opened avenues of communication so that they can live a more peaceful life within their own home.
You bet.
That's going to allow us to have a more peaceful day at work. It's going to allow us to be able to look forward to coming home in the evenings and get back to some of this good old, I guess, home spirit of love.
Yeah.
And that's and it sounds corny.
No, man.
Here we are in 1989, looking at revolutions across the ocean, and we are kind of wanting to close our eyes to the revolutions that are going on in our own home. So I just wanted to get on here and thank these 2 ladies for bringing to light something that a lot of us who have the resources to do some things financially have not done. And I hope that other parents will join in supporting them.
Tony, are you a businessman here in Denver?
Yes, I am.
So you're connected? I mean, you're well connected. You know other people?
Well, I know enough people that do have some resources that can contribute, and if they don't just have the individual resources to contribute, they can talk at the golf course and
well, let's do this.
Other businessmen who are in a position to do things.
Are you willing to leave your phone number with Vaughn at the desk and let these ladies call you back, and maybe you could come to the meeting and help organize some of this for the...
Certainly will.
Okay. Good call, Tony.
Thank you, Tony.
You bet.
Right.
Yeah. God bless you. All right. Let's see. We're going to move right along here, Vaughn. How about let's talk to... we have... Who is it? Bob in... where is he? Bob in Denver. Someplace. I've got it right here. I'm sorry. Okay. Bob in East Denver. Hi. You're on Addiction Free Radio.
Yes. I'd like to know, what are these ladies going to do for not just the kids' self-esteem, but their own self-image?
Okay.
Well,
their self-image and developing that self-image, because if you know who you are, then you know where you're going, and what you want to do in life. And these kids need direction.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Bob, we totally agree with you. And when we got together, one of the things we said that's pertinent to East Denver, because there's a large population of black children in East Denver, and one of the things we said is we have a cultural, and it's called a cultural art and history proponent of our program. Because when you know what you're about, then your self-esteem automatically increases. When you know your history, when you know that you go as far back as Egypt, and that your people invented makeup and did hundreds of thousands of wonderful black things, or wonderful things that contributed to this country, then you immediately start feeling better about yourself and your self-image.
Right.
And that's where we're going to start there too. And it doesn't just stop in East Denver. It goes to West Denver, where they need to know more about their history, and it goes throughout. And not only that, but other ethnic groups need to know more about our history, and I think that would help too. So we totally agree with you, and that's part of what we're going to do to start increasing self-esteem. The other part is to start letting kids know that they're okay, and that there is someone there that cares, and love helps increase self-esteem also.
The other thing too is that we're going to get, and I keep going back to the parents, because parents are important. That's where our children learn from, and our parents also need to learn a little about their own cultural history, as well as our kids. So we hope to get the parents involved directly with the kids and have programs where we can all learn together and share together.
That's true.
Are you a parent also, Bob?
No, I'm not.
You're not?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Well, and what made you call in tonight? Just because you wanted to see the kids?
Well, really, what made me call in and even inquire about the program was the article that I saw in the paper.
Right.
About a number of youngsters who are facing 40-year jail sentences, and they're only 17 years old. And I think it's just sad that we're just in a situation where our kids are in a downtrodden world to a large degree, and some of them are looking at more of a demoralizing life than they should be at 17. It's such a tender age.
Well,
it's disturbing.
No, see, you're right, and these women, see, I think they come up with the answer. We got to clean. You start with your own home, you know. You clean up your own home, and if you don't know how to be a parent, maybe you can get some counseling to learn how to be a parent. And if a parent's on dope, maybe, there can be some support groups to help the parent get off of dope.
Exactly.
I mean, this has got to start, and correct me if I'm wrong, ladies, but, this has got to start with parents who are not on dope, right, and alcohol.
Oh, absolutely.
Because,
Sure.
it's...
And another part of that is that as a parents' movement, the larger the number, the more response you get. And I agree with you. 17-year-olds don't need to be in prison. We need to have a rehabilitative system that actually rehabilitates. And as a group of parents identifying those type of issues, we're going to get a more positive response from the system. We can no longer sit back as parents and just complain and not come out and do anything about it.
We got to move on here, okay? I want to thank you for your phone call.
Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Bye.
Okie dokie. Let's see, we have to take one more break, Vaughn, and when we do that, we have one line open, and then we're going to talk with Dia in East Denver. You're with Jan Scott here on Addiction Free Radio. My guests are June Jackson, Nancy Johnson. They're the founders of Youth Train, a parents' movement about parents taking responsibilities for their kids here in the Mile High City. achieve success in weight loss or quit smoking permanently through positive changes here in Denver. Call Positive Changes at area code 303-366-2900. That's area code 303-366-2900.
Radio. You can talk with Jann in just a moment at area code 303-457-9952. If you're calling long distance, let the phone ring. We'll answer just as soon as we can put you on the air. Addiction-Free Radio is the only regularly scheduled talk show on the globe that we know of, broadcasting information for those suffering from an addiction. Jann will be back to answer your questions in just a moment. We're now taking phone calls at area code 303-457-9952. Jann will be back in just 2 minutes.
Sometimes it's hard to tell if your teen is going through a stage or a crisis. What are the warning signs? Abuse of alcohol or drugs, a drastic change in appearance, failing grades, defiant behavior, running with the wrong crowd, loss of control. At Charter, we have the skills and understanding to help your teen and your family. If you have a troubled teenager, we can help.
Call Charter Hospital of Denver at 989-5000. That's 989-5000.
Hello, this is Walter Cronkite, and I'd like to talk to you for a minute, especially if you're a parent of teenage children. Actually, I'm going to ask you to have a very difficult talk with your kids. No, I don't mean about teenage sex. For a lot of us, that would be easy compared with what I'm talking about. I mean drugs. I mean cocaine. I mean crack. Hard as it may be to talk about drugs with your kids, it should be unthinkable for you not to. After all, everyone knows it's a national problem, so your kids know that you know it, too. If you don't talk about it with them, if you don't fight it with them, your kids have every right to think you don't care. In fact, if you say nothing, it's practically like telling them it's okay. The idea of your kids using cocaine or crack ought to scare you to death. So, hard as it may be, you've got to learn about it, and you've got to talk about it.
This message brought to you by Communities for a Drug-Free Colorado.
Okay, we're back here on Addiction-Free Radio. You're with Jann Scott. Yes, this is not just a black problem. This is a white problem, too. It's all kind of people problems when we're talking about losing our neighborhoods. And I have to congratulate you two ladies, because I have been saying for the past 2 years that we are in the process, and have been, in the process of losing this city specifically to gangs, thugs, gangsters, and criminals and dope. And it has to start in the neighborhoods. It has to start on the street. It has to start in your home. And you can't pick up the phone and say, well, the police should do something about it, or the governor should do something about it, or the, social services should do something about it. It starts with parents. It starts with parents at your, at your house. It starts in your pods, as an example. Before we go talk to Dia, tell me quickly about the captain idea.
That's part of the HELP project, okay. And we are going to select neighborhood captains or leaders, whatever they will end up calling them, at our meeting on the 29th. Those volunteers who come to our meeting want to participate.
What will they do? What will the captains do?
We'll select a captain, and that person will be the neighborhood leader. I'm sorry, I'm kind of getting rambling here.
Let me give the phone number too. 457-9951. I've got one line open. 457-9951. Go ahead.
That person would be the neighborhood leader. Nancy's right.
Yeah, go ahead.
That will basically call the other neighborhoods, and maybe she may need to call the other members in the neighborhood, and maybe there's a time when she may even need to call the next block behind her or the block in front of her. And the block captains will have that, because it'll show unity and it'll show support. And if there is a negative activity going on, those parents will be there. They will not approach anybody. We do not condone any type of violence. And they'll be there. And hopefully, in that group of parents, there will be someone that sees their own child or their own.
So it's going to be like there's going to be visiting in the neighborhood. The neighborhoods are going to start to become neighborhoods again through the block captains.
That's right.
Because they're going to make contact and start to help pull people together. Let's go to the telephones. We're going to talk to, hi, Dia, you're on Addiction Free Radio.
Hello. Nancy and June?
Yes.
First, I would like to say that your program sounds like a very good program.
Thank you, Dia.
But I would also like to ask the question. I've heard of many programs that sound like yours. What makes your program original?
Our program is original because I don't know.
That's a good question.
And we appreciate that question because we're a parents movement. There are a lot of programs in this city, and they are great programs. We have no intentions of negating any of them. Mm-hmm. We have every intention of referring people to those programs. Our program is different because we don't have all the answers, number one. So we're asking all parents to become involved in solving the problems. Our program is not about complaining or finding out what the problem is, but it's about implementing positive alternatives to negative activities, starting with your community in your home. And the difference is that there's not a lot of parents programs and parents movements within the city. We appreciate that question.
Well, I thank you. You really answered it for me.
Dia, let me ask you a question. Are you a parent?
No, I'm not.
You're not. Are you a teenager?
Yes.
You are. Oh, okay. And do you have a parent who's involved in? You don't have to, tell them or anything. But do you have a parent who's involved in Youth Train?
Yes, I do.
Oh, you do. Well, let me ask you from a teen's point of view. What do you think about this deal?
Excuse me?
I said from a teenager's point of view. What do you think? What do you think about this? And what do you think that teens need to do? In terms of that's a good question. What can teens do in the Youth Train?
Well, I think that the teens, from what I hear, should become peer pals, like an earlier caller Billy said.
Okay.
I think that that's a good idea, quite a good idea, and I think that this is a good program, a really good program. It's better than many of the other programs I've been.
Well, you do? Why do you say that?
Because some of them are only focused on the problem teenagers, and I noticed that this program is focused on the problem, the medium, and the good students.
Yeah. See, now I agree with you. I think this is a killer program. And what Nancy was saying here earlier, when she said, she lost control of her family, and then she said, and then I got angry. It reminds me of those movies. Oh, I hate to even bring them up, but the Death Wish movies. But it's like that. And I hate this. And I've said this before. I said, if we don't get involved in our communities and take them back now, what's going to happen is you're going to have vigilantes. The parents are going to get so ticked off that they will be fighting in the streets, and then it's really going to be bad. And that's why this program is very, very good, because it's about almost parent effectiveness training.
And also, we like to say, because we were asked this question before, and we're also there to help parents monitor their community so that their children are not harassed. And someone asked us once, what happens when a group of youth are just together and they're harassed? And when a group of youth are together and they know that they're together doing positive things, then that also promotes a decrease in the harassment that goes on in the community too.
Dia, thank you for your phone call.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, Dia.
Let's see, we got time for one more call, which we're going to take here in a minute. Quick, bottom line, what do we need to have the public know about this program? It's the Youth Train, a parents' movement.
Number one, we want them to be sure to purchase a yellow light bulb,
okay.
Participate in the Respect Me campaign, and burn it on the 4th of July.
Hey, I think we ought to get General Electric to donate those light bulbs. Anybody out there work for General Electric?
That's a wonderful idea. We think we ought to get General Electric to donate those light bulbs.
I think so. That'd be a good idea.
Or Sylvania, or anyone that would
go
love
ahead.
to donate those light bulbs.
What's the next one before we...
Also, we want people to remember that June 29th, 6:30 to 8 o'clock p.m. is our parents' meeting. One of the community meetings at 6333 East Colfax Avenue, July 1st in the Montbello area at 4810 Chambers Road, 10 to 11:30 a.m.
If you have any other questions about that stuff too, you can call here after the program, and I'm sure either one of these women, you'd be willing to stick around and talk to a few people if they want to talk to you off the air.
We sure will.
Okay, we got one more call here. Let's talk to Ellen from South Denver. Hi, Ellen. You got about 15 seconds for your question or comment. Go ahead.
Yes, I'd just like to say that I'm a white lady and I'm a mother of 3. And I just feel like in our communities we need to get together and face up to the fact that if our children have problems, all of our children have problems. Because so many times me and my friends have discussed it and we say, well, the black kids are in gangs and the black kids are committing crimes because that's all you see on TV. But then my daughter brought home some crack one day and I became very upset. And just because she's affluent, and just because she has money, just because I bought her a car for graduation, it didn't mean that she was immune from the problems that our community has.
And you're right.
Yep.
Crime isn't just in East Denver. Drugs are not just in East Denver. Gang violence is not just in East Denver. This is a program for the entire metropolitan Denver area. Because we're from East Denver doesn't mean that this program is just for East Denver.
And you can get involved in this too, Ellen.
Well, I'm very pleased about it, and I'm going to come to the meeting.
Okay.
Because I think until we can get together and work on things together and quit separating ourselves and being foolish and saying it's their problem, then that's the only way we can defeat these problems.
Okay. On that note, we're going to close because you completed the circle here. Thank you for your call.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Good night. Boy, what a night this has been. June and Nancy, thanks so much. We're completely out of time.
Thank you for having us.
This is great. We'll have to do this again. In fact, we'll talk about this, okay? Tomorrow night, we're going to have the editor of the 12-Step Times on the program. We're going to talk about their new issue. Every night at 9, Addiction Free Radio is on the air. We're here to carry the message of recovery. This is Jan Scott. Until tomorrow at 9 o'clock, good night and God bless you. The cost for a 1-year weight loss program through Positive Changes is $249. And the 1-year Stop Smoking program is $199. Call Positive Changes here in Denver at 366-2900, 366-2900.
You've been listening to Addiction Free Radio with your host, Jann Scott. Jann invites you to join him every night at 7 on most of these same stations. If you would like a cassette copy of tonight's show, send $3 check or money order in American currency to Jann Scott, Addiction Free Radio, Post Office Box 545, Lyons, Colorado, 80540 USA. That's Box 545, Lyons, Colorado, 80540 USA. Jann also welcomes any ideas or suggestions you might have. If you know someone who needs this radio show, even though they don't know they need it, tune in with them any night at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, right here on the Addiction Free Radio Network.
How can you tell when your teen has a drug or alcohol problem? Look for warning signs, like dramatic change in appearance, staying out late and running with a new, tough crowd, skipping school, taking money, and withdrawing from family. If you think your teen is in trouble with drugs or alcohol, Charter can help. We offer real solutions to your family's problems.
Call Charter Hospital of Denver at 989-5000. That's 989-5000.
A new kind of talk in Denver. 76 KJIM, Thornton, Denver.
It's a companion to an 80-year-old woman recuperating from surgery. It fills the nervous silences of a first date. It renews a veteran's kinship with the men he fought beside. What I'm talking about is the radio. The radio is more than news, it's more than music, it's more than sports. It's a melody of celebration, a voice of hope, the soundtrack of our lives. It has a deep, personal connection to each and every one of us. That's why, for the next 30 seconds, this station and others would like you to imagine your life without radio. Imagine if all your days